Sometimes video game franchises just run out of steam.
My back!
Hey, that's what happens when you pump out installment after installment. A lot of franchises slowly fizzle out after that and go quietly into the night. But the truly great series rise from the ashes and deliver a new game that completely changes everything. Today's video is all about those video games that kicked butt and saved their respective franchises. Did your favorite make the list? Let's get into it right now. Man, that Call of Duty never shuts up, does it? I mean, I understand receiving the Call of Duty like 1 or 2 times, but every single year? Somebody answer already! The Call of Duty video game franchise has been a yearly staple and a juggernaut in sales, but let's not forget that things weren't always this way. Call of Duty in its first few years struggled to find its footing, constantly playing second fiddle to games like Medal of Honor. But that all changed with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The 4th installment got players out of the World War II setting and placed it, you guessed it, in modern times. The game was a monstrous success, and it outsold all of its predecessors. And now the franchise continues to dominate the marketplace. And let that be an important lesson, video games. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself and shift directions in order to stay afloat. The Assassin's Creed series has had a fascinating trajectory over the years. Many gamers will probably say the games peaked with Assassin's Creed 2, which was a huge success and is safe to say is the best in the series. After that creative high point though, things started to go downhill. The next 3 installments kept losing steam with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and Assassin's Creed 3 all not reaching the same heights as the second game. Sure, those follow-up games performed well, but the franchise was definitely in need of a new shot in the arm and possibly a new direction. Then along came Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which took the concept of secret assassins and ancient brotherhoods and threw in pirates. I think everything is better with pirates. The peg legs, the eye patches, the talking parrots, the scurvy. Everything is just so much fun when pirates are around. The game pivoted the franchise in a new direction and proved there was still a lot of gas left in the tank. Wolfenstein might be one of the franchises that you'd be surprised has lasted so long, and after a few lackluster attempts to rejuvenate the franchise, most notably with 2009's Wolfenstein, it looked like the game series was over. But then 2014's Wolfenstein The New Order completely switched things up. A new studio, ZeniMax Media, published the game, and it was developed by the newly formed Machine Games. So overall, the game felt fresh and exciting. And with a bonkers plot about an alternate timeline where Germany won World War II and brand new, over-the-top weaponry, The New Order was a huge success and was one of the highest-selling games of 2014. Fallout 3 was one of those games that many thought would just never happen. It spent basically an entire decade in development limbo before finally releasing in 2008 to monstrous success. But the road to get there certainly wasn't easy. Originally, Black Isle Studios was developing the game, but announced its cancellation in 2003, when the company had to disband due to legal troubles. The rights were sold to Bethesda, which then worked hard to deliver one of the most popular games of the decade. We're fortunate that things turned out the way they did. There's probably some sort of alternate future out there where Bethesda never got the rights and the game was never released. That truly sounds like the darkest of all timelines, doesn't it? Lara Croft has been one of the most popular video game characters since the early days of video games, where everything was all pixelated and blocky. The character's original design is the subject of much mockery. Man, look how far the character has come. There's a Lara Croft for a new age of gamers, and that's thanks to 2013's Tomb Raider. This game took an interesting gamble with the character. Instead of giving us a game with an already battle-hardened adventurer like the past games, the 2013 version opted for a reboot, which features a still young 21-year-old Lara Croft embarking on an early adventure. It was a very different game than its predecessors, but one that was well received and kickstarted a whole new version of the franchise. If the 2013 game wasn't a hit, then who knows when the next Lara Croft game would be. I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone who isn't a fan of the PS2 game Spider-Man 2. With a fantastic game design, great open-world game mechanics, plus a solid Bruce Campbell narration.
Well, sequel time already, huh? Welcome back, I guess. I'm sure you miss me more than I miss you.
The game quickly became one of the most popular PS2 games. And sure, there were a ton of Spidey games after that. but there just wasn't anything that really lit the video game world on fire. Well, that changed with 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man, released for the PS4. It soon became the fastest-selling superhero game in US history and was the biggest PlayStation exclusive launched ever. See? People will buy a Spider-Man game when the studios take the time and effort to deliver something worthwhile. We're all just chasing that PS2 Spider-Man 2 high after all. And if the song doesn't start playing in your head, then I'm pretty sure Shang Tsung has stolen your soul. Anyways, the Mortal Kombat franchise has seen a lot of attempted rejuvenations over the years. I mean, there's only so many times you can rip a person's spine out, but the best attempt had to be Mortal Kombat X. Now, Mortal Kombat 9 started the revitalization process, and I think that Mortal Kombat X perfected it. It not only embraced the new game mechanics and finishing moves that started in 9, but also introduced a lot of new, actually interesting characters to play as. I mean, yeah, the characters were great, but also the graphics were jaw-dropping, which is the most important thing for a Mortal Kombat game. Gotta see those fatalities in high def. I wouldn't say that the God of War franchise necessarily ever was in danger, but I don't think anyone would disagree that some of the later games were a step down from the dizzying heights achieved by the earlier games. Then, after a few years, we went through a God of War period where they kept putting out collections of all the games put together, or remastered versions of the earlier games, which is all fine, but where was the new content? I didn't want to fork over money for God of War 3, the remastered version, did you? So 2018 offered a much-needed reboot, just titled God of War. The new game switched things up and focused on Norse gods, and even gave the series protagonist, Kratos, a son to travel. It was a reboot that did everything right and opened the door for a lot of new installments down the line. Fire Emblem has been around since 1990, which is kind of insane when you think about it. Of course, a franchise that has gone on that long will have its ebbs and flows. It's adapted to just about every console upgrade there has been, having started being produced for the Famicom, then the Game Boy Advanced, then the GameCube, and then the Wii. After a bunch of these titles, Fire Emblem Awakening was announced, and it was planned to be the last in the series. But it was also the first Fire Emblem game that was announced for the new Nintendo 3DS. And when it was released, it turned out to be a phenomenal success. It became the highest-selling game in the franchise and kept the franchise alive for more installments in the future. Sometimes all it takes is for the right game to click with the right console, and with the 3DS, Fire Emblem found its second life. I really respect what Alien Isolation did. Most video game franchises, after some lackluster games, try to up the ante and get crazier. But Alien Isolation took a much different approach. Usually Alien games took a page from the Aliens sequel and churned out action-adventure games with a lot of guns, shootings, explosions, etc. And hey, that makes a lot of sense, but those video games were never huge successes. Aliens Colonial Marines was a travesty of a game, and it didn't look like there was any way to properly do an Alien game. But then someone, somewhere, had an idea to lean into the horror aspects of the original movie. Alien Isolation strips everything down to bare bones and makes it a horror survival game where you play as Amanda Ripley, daughter of Ellen Ripley, who has to sneak around and mostly avoid the dangerous xenomorph that's hunting you. The game may not have been the biggest success, but the fact that the franchise could come back after Colonial Marines and deliver something truly in the same vein as the OG movie is nothing short of amazing. Hey, no love for Luigi's Mansion? Come on. At that point, everyone was tired of the red plumber, so the green plumber stepped up and delivered a fun ghost hunting adventure. Now that's a game-changing move right there. We need more Luigi in our lives.